We are only 3 weeks away from the release of Hogwarts Legacy, and fans' excitement for the game is only increasing as we count down the days. When we think of Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, one thing jumps to my mind immediately. Class. Now, unlike school in the real world, classes in Hogwarts Legacy are far from boring, unless your teacher is this guy. Now, you might be wondering, who is this professor and what class is this? Well, lucky for you, I'll be breaking down all the classes and professors we know so far in Hogwarts Legacy. Also, if you are new to the channel, feel free to smash the like button and subscribe if you want to see more Hogwarts Legacy content. Our character's journey at Hogwarts will be unlike most students, as we are starting out as a 5th year, so it's safe to say our wizarding skills and knowledge will be slightly behind the bell curve in comparison to our peers. Hence, why attending different classes and learning new abilities and skills will be a major component of our journey. Now, how will classes work? Well, game director Alan Tu had this to say in a recent gameplay showcase.
There's a big mystery going on in the world, there's something happening in the narrative, and we essentially see it as kind of like chapters in that narrative, each chapter of which has a set of missions that you can choose between as you're progressing through the game, and classes fit within that structure. So there are mainline things that the players have to do, and then classes also appear on the sides as well as optional things that help you advance your spells.
So it seems that they're going to tie in classes with the main missions of the story, which I'm assuming will be a core element of our early game as we get up to speed with our skills and learn the basics when it comes to being a witch or a wizard. Alan Chu also said that some classes will be entirely optional, whilst others act as a blocker for main missions, where we will have to complete certain classes to learn a new skill, spell, or obtain a new tool that we need to advance in the story. He also says that some of the optional classes we can attend will contain their own side missions of sorts, where we can learn new spells and enhance our abilities if we choose to do so. The open world RPG that is Hogwarts Legacy is set in the late 1800s, 1890 to be precise, which was confirmed in the gameplay trailer thanks to the date being seen in the Daily Prophet here. This means that most of the teachers that we're accustomed to seeing in the books and the films are not teaching. However, there might be a few household names that will ring the bell for you. One of these is none other than Headmaster Phineas Nigellus Black. Although it's unlikely we will receive any classes from Phineas Black, being the Headmaster, it's safe to say that our characters will cross paths several times throughout the game. The current Headmaster of Hogwarts during our playthrough will be voiced by Simon Pegg, who's well known for his roles in Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz. Phineas Nigellus Black is also Sirius Black's great-great-grandfather, as well as an ancestor of both Bellatrix Lestrange and Draco's mother Narcissa Malfoy. He was also the last Slytherin headmaster of Hogwarts before Professor Snape took the job. His description reads the following: Phineas Nigellus Black, who to this day remains the least popular headmaster Hogwarts has ever known, makes little effort to hide the utter disdain he has for his students. He is cantankerous, lazy, and vain pureblood, with a myopic view of the world and a condescending and unjustifiably superior attitude. Wildly ill-suited to his job, his goal is to do the least amount of work possible and avoid exposure to the student body, preferring to focus on his status in the wizarding world and his surgically manicured beard. We can assume that during our journey, this headmaster won't be one of our character's allies, nor one to help us through our time at Hogwarts. A teacher who will help us though is Professor Matilda Weasley, another household name that many of us will be quite familiar with. She will be the deputy headmaster during our stay at Hogwarts, and will be the one who helps us get accustomed to life at the school by giving us the Wizard's Field Guide and showing us the Room of Requirement. She is also the Professor of Transfiguration, which is the art of changing the form or appearance of an object. We haven't seen any gameplay of this class yet, but as it's one of the core classes taught at Hogwarts, it's very possible and likely that it's in the game. One of the classes we have seen some gameplay for is Herbology, a class where we will learn about plant life that can be found in and around Hogwarts, including a few that can be made into potions. This class is taught by Professor Mirabelle Garlick. London-born Professor Garlick grew up in a household full of muggles and didn't really feel at home until she was a student at Hogwarts. In fact, she would tell you that it was at the famed school of witchcraft and wizardry that she finally blossomed herself and discovered her extraordinary affinity for magical plants. Her sunny demeanor and flowery language charm colleagues and students alike, prompting some students to worry she may one day leave them for another greenhouse. But Mirabelle Garlick would never leave her students. So even if the right witch were to come along, she'd simply have to love Hogwarts as much as Mirabelle does. We will have the ability to use several plants in combat, such as the mandrake and sentry-like plants, which will help us stun and take out hordes of enemies. We know that to brew different potions throughout the game, we will need to source a variety of plant life and materials out in the wild. It's safe to say that in Herbology class we will learn about these different ingredients and their whereabouts to aid us throughout the game. Speaking of potions, this is another class we have seen in the trailers, taught by ex-Auror Professor Aesop Sharp. The gruffy and keenly astute Professor Sharp enjoyed a lengthy and successful career as an Auror until an injury forced him from the field. Not wanting to push parchment around a desk at the ministry, Sharp decided his time would be better spent sharing his extensive experience involving battle-worthy drafts and elixirs with the students at Hogwarts. Not easily impressed and wholly unwilling to suffer fools, he takes genuine pride in students who excel in his class despite his challenging curriculum. To me, Professor Sharp seems like a combination of Mad-Eye Moody and Professor Snape. Nevertheless, he will be a crucial mentor to our character, as we have already seen the different types of potions we can brew, from ones that increase damage, mitigate damage, and even reduce the cooldown on certain spells. Next up is Charms class. Charms is another useful class that teaches you spells that allow you to interact with your environment, such as Wingardium Leviosa, which can be used to lift objects. It's safe to say that in Charms class we will learn a variety of control spells to aid us in getting around the magical world and even revealing certain secrets hidden within the walls of Hogwarts itself. Charms class is taught by Professor Abraham Ronan. Jovial and light-hearted with a perpetual twinkle in his eye, Professor Ronan considers his students' friendships and extracurricular activities to be just important as the subject of Charms itself. In response to have been tutored by a rather austere father before and during his years at Hogwarts, he developed a passion for games of all forms, particularly gobstones. He allegedly met his wife during an especially lively gobstones tournament. To the delight of most of his students, his unorthodox teaching style often incorporates gameplay. We have seen in trailers segments of his classes that look like different mini-games that we will have to complete. I can see Professor Ronan being a fan favourite amongst players, as so far his class seems to be the most enjoyable. Defense of the Dark Arts is up next, taught by Professor Dinah Hecat. The stern but likeable Professor Hecat takes her abilities quite seriously. After a successful career with the Ministry of Magic, during which she is rumoured to have spent some time in the Department of Mysteries, she retired to become Hogwarts Defense Against the Dark Arts Professor. Though she is happy to be at Hogwarts, some believe her hands-on teaching method satiates an innate desire for action. This class is where we will be learning the basic fundamentals of combat, I assume, along with dueling. This class will most likely be quite important, as we need to learn to defend ourselves against the forces at play during our story. Now, Professor Hecat does appear to be a little old lady, but I've got the feeling that you don't want to mess with her. She just looks like she's seen some serious shit. Another class and professor we have seen quite a bit of is Magical Theory, taught by Professor Fig, a class where we will learn to study the nature of magic and exactly how spells work. The Magical Theory professor at Hogwarts left behind his aspirations of working for the Ministry of Magic to follow his wife Miriam around the world as she researched the seeming disappearance of ancient magic. Fig eventually grew weary of this quest and left her to continue on her own while he took on the job of Magical Theory professor at Hogwarts. When Miriam was killed during her travels, Fig felt responsible because he was not there, a guilt that still haunts him to this day. He is determined to understand why and how she died and to finish her work. Fig is a kind, knowledgeable professor and will be one of the players' greatest allies during their time at Hogwarts, with respect to the trials they will face both inside and outside the castle walls. We have seen that Professor Fig will be one of our closest companions throughout the story, as we try to take on the growing Goblin Rebellion as well as learn about the ancient magic that our character has within. Speaking of ancient magic, ancient studies and the study of ancient runes could be two other classes we take to reveal these secrets. However, we haven't heard anything regarding these subjects, so that is just speculation. A class that hasn't been mentioned but one we have seen in the trailer is Magic History class. We will learn about topics such as significant events in wizarding history like different wars and goblin rebellions. Something we will most likely learn a bit about, considering that one of our main antagonists is the Goblin Ranrock, who is leading a Goblin Rebellion of his own. This class was taught by Professor Cuthbert Binns, who is most likely the ghost we saw in one of the reveal trailers. His classes were typically deemed extremely boring, and we can see in the trailer that some of his students are being put to sleep by his lecture. Another cool note in this classroom is that the window pane here has Merlin written on it. We know that Merlin did indeed attend Hogwarts, and devs have teased that there may be hidden puzzles around the world that Merlin himself may have left behind for us to solve. A couple other classes which were noted in the frequently asked questions section of the Hogwarts Legacy website include Flying class, where we will learn how to ride a broomstick, which is just one of the ways we can travel around the highlands surrounding Hogwarts. Here we see a small glimpse of who seems to be the flying class professor. Another class that was mentioned was Beast class, which I want to assume is Care of Magical Creatures class, a class where students are instructed how to care for magical beasts. Considering that taming and caring for beasts is a key feature in this game, I would not be surprised if this is a class we can attend within the game. Poppy Sweeting, a young Hufflepuff, will also assist our character in caring for magical creatures, which we will be able to save from poachers and nurse to health in our vivariums within our own room of requirement. Recently, we received news of two new professors in Hogwarts Legacy, those being Professor Onai, who will be the Professor of Divination. She is seen sitting in the back of the Sorting Hat ceremony here, and is the mother of Gryffindor Natsai Unai, who recently transferred from Wagadu. She is a gifted seer whose faith in her sight was shaken by the fact that she did not foresee the loss of her own husband. An interesting and sad backstory that I'm sure we will learn more about come the game's launch. The astronomy professor has been revealed to be Professor Satyavati Shah. Raised in the Muggle world, she took an interest in the sciences and is said to take her astronomy lessons quite seriously. As our character is attending Hogwarts in their 5th year, there is a series of significant exams that takes place for students in their 5th year. The OWL examinations. These have been administered by the Wizarding Examination Authority since the late 1800s. The time period that this game is set. Whilst we haven't heard anything regarding the owls by the developers, I think it would be a cool addition, even if it's just a reference. Now that's all the classes that have been teased or revealed so far. There very well could be some new additions come the release of the game, but so far it seems that we will have our hands full of content when it comes to attending different classes to upskill our character in the ways of witchcraft and wizardry. Now, if you haven't yet purchased or pre-ordered Hogwarts Legacy, watch this video here as I break down each of the editions available and reveal which one is the best to purchase. And of course, if you enjoyed this video and want to see more Hogwarts content, make sure you leave a like and subscribe. See ya.